Morgan, and today I will be doing a first look at The Phantom Lover, and this is by Ruby M. Ayres, and I ended up finding this book like secondhand off the internet. I believe it might have been an old library copy. I'm not 100% certain, but I know that like the seller did indicate that it is not necessarily in the best possible condition. But yes, this is The Phantom Lover by Ruby M. Ayres, and the writing on the cover is a little bit faded, and there's also like very clearly the binding is coming like away from the pages, like this is not necessarily staying together very well, and on like here like the paper is peeling away here, and it also has like some interesting like markings. Like this looks like it was like pasted or somehow attached. Here it doesn't really feel like tape. Like I can't visibly really see tape, so I'm wondering if it was pasted or something or glued. There's like this little what looks like a cutout from maybe like a newspaper or some other form of paper, because it looks like it's been cut out and glued on. So I'm wondering, okay, is this actually extant to the book itself, or is this added by someone? It says, The Phantom Lover by Ruby M. Ayres. Have you not often heard of someone being in love with love, rather than the person they believed the object of their affections? That was Esther. It was through pain and outraged affection, but assurance of one man's unfailing devotion and unselfishness which brings her through the crisis into a deep and profound love. So I'm wondering if that's like the description or a summary of the book. And then here is an old signature in a pencil, and I can't really, like, my ability to read cursive isn't the greatest, and so I'm not entirely sure what name is there. And then I turn the page that has entirely come out of the book, and on here is the copyright information page. It says, The Phantom Lover by Ruby M. Ayres, author of A Bachelor Husband, The Scar, etc. And then there's a little detailed, I guess, design there. And then it says New York Grosset and Dunlap Publishers, made in the United States of America. And then I turn the page, and it says copyright in 1921 by W.J. Watt and Company, printed in the United States. And one of the amazing things about this being over a century old now is that this is for surezies in the public domain in the United States. And so it isn't always entirely clear if works from like some works from like the 1920s and 30s may have fallen like into the public domain based on, at one point you had to like renew copyright in order for copyright to be maintained. So, and it is oftentimes really difficult with older works to figure out, okay, is this still under copyright protection, and if so, who owns it? And then like trying to find who is actually like the current holder, if there is one, to ask, okay, can I do something with your work? So I really appreciate things that are old enough to be for surezies in the public domain, so I don't have to worry about like, okay, is this someone's property before utilizing it. Also note, disclaimer, I am not a lawyer. And then on this next page it says, dedicated to my friend Janet Moore, and Janet Moore is in like a really pretty font, and it says, the real June Mason in this story. Oh, that's so sweet. So the author like dedicated this to her friend, and apparently based one of the characters off of her friend. And then here is the actual text of the book itself, and I'm going to skip through this until I actually start reading the story, and then I'm going to go to the end of the book, because over here it says, like, it has like what seems to be advertisements for additional books, and it says, the books you like to read at the price you like to pay. There are two sides to everything, including the wrapper, which covers every Grosset and Dunlap book, which I don't think is still with this copy. When you feel in the mood for a good romance, refer to the carefully selected list of modern fiction comprising most of the successes by prominent writers of the day, which is printed on the back of every Grosset and Dunlap book wrapper. You will find more than 500 titles to choose from, books for every mood and every taste and every pocketbook. Don't forget the other side, but in case the wrapper is lost, write to the publishers for a complete catalog. I wonder if that's even still in print. And then it says there is a Grosset and Dunlop book for every mood and for every taste. And then I'm noticing here, this is like sewn on, like old book bindings really, like it's interesting to see, especially when it's like not in the best condition. Like, how was this actually constructed? And then on the next page, it says Ruby M. Ayres novels may be had wherever books are sold. Ask for Grosset and Dunlop's list. So because this was published in 1921, these are all books from, I'd say 1921 or prior. The Littlest Lover, Candlelight, The Man Without a Heart. So this does confirm this is that one is pre-1921 then. Because I'm thinking I would like to read that, but I'm not entirely sure when it was published, so I wasn't sure if it's still under copyright or not. But if this was pre-1921, this should be good to go. The Romance of a Rogue, The Matherson Marriage, Richard Chatterton, A Bachelor Husband, The Scar, The Marriage of Barry Wicklow, The Uphill Road, Winds of the World, The Second Honeymoon, and The Phantom Lover, which is this book. And it says Grosset and Dunlop, Publishers, New York. And then on the next page, it says The Novels of Temple Bailey may be had wherever books are sold. Ask for Grosset and Dunlop's list. Although my ancestry is all of New England, I was born in the old town of Petersburg, Virginia. I went later to Richmond and finally at the age of 5 to Washington, D.C., returning to Richmond for a few years in a girls' school, which was picturesquely quartered in General Lee's mansion. Oh. Then it says Peacock Feathers, The Eternal Conflict Between Wealth and Love. Jerry, the idealist who is poor, loves Mimi, a beautiful, spoiled society girl. The Dim Lantern, the romance of little Jane Barnes, who is loved by 2 men. The Gay Cockade, unusual short stories where Miss Bailey shows her keen knowledge of character and environment, and how romance comes to different people. I'm not going to get my hopes up with that, because it has a really cool title, but I don't know if this was actually like referring to like LGBTQ plus romance considering the time period. The Trumpeter Swan. Randy Payne comes back from France to the monotony of everyday affairs, but the girl he loves shows him the beauty in the commonplace. The Tin Soldier. A man who wishes to serve his country, but is bound by a tie he cannot in honor break. That's Derry. A girl who loves him, shares his humiliation, and helps him to win. That's Jean. Their love is the story. And then Mistress Anne. A girl in Maryland teaches school and believes that work is worthy service. 2 men come to the little community. One is weak, the other strong, and both need Anne. Contrary Mary. An old-fashioned love story that is nevertheless modern. Glory of Youth. A novel that deals with a question, old and yet ever new. How far should an engagement of marriage bind 2 persons who discover they no longer love? And then Grosset and Dunlop, Publishers, New York. And then on the next page, This is, again, not in the best condition. Margaret Pedler's novels may be had wherever books are sold. Ask for Grosset and Dunlop's list. Red Ashes, a gripping story of a doctor who failed in a crucial operation and had only himself to blame. Could the woman he loved forgive him? The Barbarian Lover. A love story based on the creed that the only important things between birth and death are the courage to face life and the love to sweeten it. The Moon Out of Reach. Nan Davenant's problem is one that many a girl has faced, her own happiness or her father's bond. The House of Dreams Come True. How a man and a woman fulfilled a gypsy's strange prophecy. The Hermit of Far End. How love made its way into a walled-in house and a walled-in heart. The Lamp of Fate. The story of a woman who tried to take all and give nothing. The Splendid Folly. Do you believe that husbands and wives should have no secrets from each other? The Vision of Desire. an absorbing romance written with all that sense of feminine tenderness that has given the novels of Margaret Pedler their universal appeal. And then it says Grosset and Dunlap, publishers, New York. And then Booth Tarkington's novels may be had wherever books are sold. Ask for Grosset and Dunlap's list. The Midlander, The Fascinating Stranger, Gentle Julia, Alice Adams, Ramsay Milholland, The Guest of Quesnay, The Two Van Revels, The Magnificent Ambersons, Monsieur Beaucaire, 17, Penrod and Sam, The Turmoil, The Gentleman from Indiana, The Flirt. Yeah, this book is having a little bit of trouble staying together. And then Kathleen Norris's stories may be had wherever books are sold. Ask for Grosset and Dunlap's lists. Sisters, Frontispiece by Frank Street. The California redwoods furnish the background for this beautiful story of sisterly devotion and sacrifice. Poor, dear Margaret Kirby. Frontispiece by George Gibbs. A collection of delightful stories including, this part is very, there seems to be a printing error here. Bridging the Years and the Tide Marsh. This story is now shown in moving pictures. Oh wow, this is so interesting. This story is now shown in moving pictures, which means that this was, if this was from 1921, that probably was a silent film. I wonder if that film is still accessible, if there's a copy that still exists. So poor dear Margaret Kirby was shown in moving pictures. Jocelyn's Wife, Frontispiece by C. Allen Gilbert. The story of a beautiful woman who fought a bitter fight to something happiness and love. This page has a few areas that are a bit difficult to read. Marty the Unconquered, illustrated by Charles E. Chambers. The triumph of a dauntless spirit over adverse conditions. The Heart of Rachel, Frontispiece by Charles E. Chambers. An interesting story of divorce and the problems that come with a second marriage. The Story of Julia Page, Frontispiece by C. Allen Gilbert. A sympathetic portrayal of the quest of a normal girl, obscure and lonely, for the happiness of life. Saturday's Child, Frontispiece by F. Graham Coates. Can a girl born in rather sordid conditions lift herself through sheer determination to the better things for which her soul hungered? Mother, illustrated by F. C. Young. A story of the big mother heart that beats in the background of every girl's life, and some dreams which came true. And then ask for a complete free list of G&D popular copyrighted fiction. Though, of course, this is from 100 years ago, so in the U.S. that would be public domain now. Grosset and Dunlap, publishers, New York. Oh, Zane Grey's novels. I always think of Zane as being a relatively modern name, it's a contemporary name to the 21st century. So it's really interesting to see Zane as a name, as an author from 100 years ago. So Zane Grey's novels may be had wherever books are sold. Ask for Grosset and Dunlap's list. The Vanishing American, The Thundering Herd, The Call of the Canyon, Wanderer of the Wasteland. That sounds kind of like it would be a cool video game. Wanderer of the Wasteland. To the Last Man, The Mysterious Rider, The Man of the Forest, The Desert of Wheat, The UP Trail, Wildfire, The Border Legion, The Rainbow Trail, The Heritage of the Desert, Riders of the Purple Sage, The Light of Western Stars, The Last of the Plainsmen, The Lone Star Ranger, Desert Gold, Betty Zane, The Day of the Beast. And then Last of the Great Scouts, The Life Story of Buffalo Bill by his sister Helen Cody Wetmore, with foreword and conclusion by Zane Grey. Zane Grey's Books for Boys, Roping Lions in the Grand Canyon, Ken Ward in the Jungle, The Young Lion Hunter, The Young Forester, The Young Pitcher, The Shortstop, The Red-Headed Outfield, and Other Baseball Stories. Grosset and Dunlap, publishers, New York. I need to be careful when turning this page because this kind of looks like it's barely holding on at all. And then the next page is Detective Stories by J.S. Fletcher. Maybe had wherever books are sold. Ask for Grosset and Dunlap's list. The Wolves and the Lamb, Green Ink, The King versus Wargrave, The Lost Mr. Linthwaite, The Mill of Many Windows, The Heaven-Kissed Hill, The Middle Temple Murder, Ravenstein Court, The Rayner Slade Amalgamation, The Safety Pin, The Secret Way, The Valley of Headstrong Men. Ask for a complete list of G&D popular copyrighted fiction, Grosset and Dunlap, Publishers, New York. And the really interesting thing about this list is, like, these are all books that should theoretically be, again, I'm not a lawyer, but they should be in the public domain in the U.S. So if you ever get, like, your hands on a copy of these, like, that could make for some really interesting creative opportunities. And then on the back, again, I'm wondering, I think the seller that I managed to get this copy secondhand from did mention that this might have been an old library book, which makes sense because there are a bunch of like little dates written in what looks like primarily pencil on the back. And it says, the Hetzler Bookshop, Circulating Library. Oh! And then that's really interesting. So this is from an old circulating library then. So that is really, really cool. I remember in, I think Mansfield Park, like, Fanny gets, what's the word? I think she, like, pays money to be part of, like, a circular, like, one of those lending library type things. So it's interesting to think that these were, like, that circulating libraries were, like, these were very clearly still a thing, at least in the 1920s. I wonder at what point, like, they became less common in the U.S. Like, that's really interesting to think about. And then that is, like, all of the like, bulk story part of the book. And I wanted to really examine this and see what all was written here, because this is such an old item that it's, like, I'm always curious about, like, the story of how these things, like, survived. I bet that this, I would hazard to suppose that this book probably has seen, like, a lot of, like, it's clearly seen better days, so it's, like, it's had a very exciting life. I wish I could learn or decipher more about its history. So yeah, I thank you for looking at and exploring, like, this old physical copy of a book from 1921 with me. I just find these things, like, fascinating. And I love old literature. I love hearing about people's stories and stuff. So yeah, thank you for exploring this with me. And I really hope that you have a great day. Bye!